Chapter 15. A Fight in the Park. Zeus hurtled through the forgotten veins of London's underground, his superbike humming with controlled fury as he weaved past dormant tracks and echoing tunnels. The modern underground system had been built atop the remnants of the old, rendering many 20th century tunnels obsolete, perfect for covert travel. This buried labyrinth, riddled with crumbling brick and rusting signage, granted him the anonymity he needed. Utilizing these abandoned stations, Zeus navigated with precision until he reached the derelict Turnham Green platform. Cloaked in moss and thyme, the long-disused station whispered of a bygone era. The cool night air met him as he ascended, the scent of damp earth and urban exhaust mingling. He fired up the Centaur 32X and rolled silently into the heart of Hammersmith. "Apollo, status on reading?" Zeus asked, his voice low and urgent. "Sir," the AI replied, its tone crisp and calm, "the suspect is entering Ravenscourt Park. The area currently contains over 100 civilians. He is armed with a large, blood-stained knife, and signs indicate Adonis is still active in his system." Live surveillance footage from Apollo flickered onto Zeus's HUD. Ben Reading lurched across the park's pathways, erratic and dangerous. His movements a grim ballet of instability and barely suppressed violence. Zeus glanced at the route overlay. Just 2 minutes away. "I'm close. I can still stop him." Twisting the throttle, Zeus sped through the city streets, dodging traffic with pinpoint accuracy. Every second mattered. His visor glowed with navigation data and Apollo's updates as he bore down on the park. Moments later, he reached the main gates of Ravenscourt Park. The engine fell silent. Zeus dismounted swiftly, drawing his .50 caliber sidearm and toggling it to non-lethal mode. As he moved, Apollo reported, "Target is near the basketball courts. He appears to be preparing to attack a group of teenagers gathering for an event." Zeus didn't hesitate. As he sprinted through the grass and paved paths, his bike behind him activated its self-defense mode, ready to unleash a 20,000-volt shock on any would-be thief or saboteur. Through the trees and flickering lampposts, screams rang out. Zeus honed in using the HUD's live feeds and thermal markers. Near the basketball court, a teenager lay bleeding from a stab wound. His friends hovered, paralyzed, while bystanders recorded the chaos instead of intervening. "No one else dies tonight," Zeus growled. Firing his grapple hook at an overhanging branch, Zeus launched himself into the air. The momentum of his swing carried him directly towards Reading. With a mighty mid-air kick, he collided with Ben's temple, sending the larger man tumbling across the court. Ben groaned, but rose to his feet, his body fueled by the grotesque strength Adonis granted. Bloodshot eyes locked onto Zeus with primal hatred. "Who the fuck are you?" he spat, muscles twitching under the influence of the drug. Zeus stood firm, the cape of vigilance and justice billowing gently behind him like a banner of defiance. "I take it you don't keep up with the news," he said coolly, his voice steady yet commanding as it cut through the tense silence. His words were directed not just at Ben, but at the growing crowd recording the encounter with wide-eyed fascination. "I am Zeus, and for too long, this city has bled at the hands of people like you, and the negligence of a police force." that should have protected it. His voice rang with unshakable authority, every word sharp and deliberate. That goes for all of you who prey on the innocent, whether it's the Black Death, the Lost, or any other filth that crawls out of the shadows. I will fight to bring safety and justice back to this city. He stood as an unyielding sentinel amid the chaos, his figure framed by the flickering lights of handheld devices and the stunned expressions of the crowd. In that moment, he wasn't just a man in armor, he was a symbol, a beacon for the forgotten, a living promise that London's voiceless would no longer stand alone. Raising his weapon, Zeus fixed his sights on Ben with unwavering focus. "Ben Reading," he declared, voice now edged with steel. "I order you to drop your weapon and lie flat on the ground. You are under arrest for the murders of Dr. Dawes, his wife, and their child, for the assault on a civilian with a deadly weapon, for possession of illegal substances. You will answer for all of it." Ben's muscles tensed, rage burning in his eyes. Zeus noticed the twitch, the telltale sign of a man about to snap. He gave one last warning. "Comply, or I will be forced to stop you. This is your final chance. Do you comply?" "Fuck you," Ben roared, charging forward with terrifying speed, knife raised high and glinting in the light. His fury was unrestrained, his scream primal. Zeus reacted instinctively, sidestepping just in time to evade the slash. In one fluid motion, he raised his weapon and fired 4 non-lethal rounds, each calibrated to incapacitate. But to his shock, Ben didn't falter. He barely seemed to notice. Apollo's voice crackled through the comms, precise and urgent. "Sir, the Adonis enhancement suppresses the brain's pain receptors. Stun rounds won't slow him down." Understanding the gravity of the situation, Zeus swiftly transformed his firearm into a blade. If force alone wouldn't stop Ben, then technique and control would have to. Their weapons collided in a spray of sparks and shrieking metal, the sound echoing across the park like a bell of war. This was unlike his clash with Jax and the others, fighters who, despite their criminality, showed discipline and strategy. Ben was something else entirely. He fought like a beast unchained, pure, unrelenting savagery. No rhythm, no technique, just violence incarnate. It was as if his mind had been drowned in a sea of rage, leaving only instinct and hate. Zeus met the chaos with calm. Every parry, every sidestep was measured and deliberate. He didn't just aim to win, he aimed to end this without unnecessary bloodshed. With each exchange, he used Ben's recklessness against him, waiting for that one decisive moment when he could disarm and subdue him. But Ben wasn't finished. With a sudden surge of brute strength, he grabbed Zeus by the neck, his fingers clamping down like a vice. Lifting the armored hero off the ground, he began to squeeze. Darkness crept at the edges of Zeus's vision. Air became a precious, vanishing thing. He thrashed, searching for leverage, for escape, but Ben's grip only tightened. "Not so high and mighty now, are you?" Ben sneered, his breath hot and foul. A grin twisted his features. "After I'm done with you, maybe I'll take your head as a trophy. Might even fetch a price." Zeus fought for breath, each word strained as he forced out a taunt. "So, you can keep paying for your fix, you smack rat." Though wheezed between gasps, the insult struck deep. Ben's expression twisted with rage as he tightened his grip, choking harder in retaliation. But the crowd in the park, galvanized by Zeus's defiance, could no longer remain passive. One brave soul stepped forward. seized a jagged stone from the ground and hurled it with all their strength. The rock struck Ben squarely on the temple with a sickening thud. Ben's head snapped to the side. His grip faltered as he turned wildly to locate the assailant. "Who the hell threw that?" he snarled, eyes scanning the gathering faces, fury now split and unfocused. Zeus seized the moment. Mustering the last reserves of his strength, he raised both hands and clapped them hard against Ben's ears, shouting, "Tango!" as the impact landed. The sharp percussion sent a jolt through Ben's skull, disorienting him with a sudden pressure shift. He staggered back, equilibrium shaken, giving Zeus precious space to recover. Apollo's voice cut crisply through the comms. "Sir, I have a suggestion. Lure reading to the pond near the basketball court." Zeus didn't hesitate. Assessing the layout in an instant, he saw the logic. Water would slow Ben down, reduce his power, give him the upper hand. He pivoted and drove a solid punch into Ben's jaw, enough to jolt his head aside, even if pain couldn't reach him through the haze of Adonis. "Come on, you junkie fuck," Zeus barked, voice rising above the stunned silence. "Let's finish this." Then he turned and bolted across the grass, sprinting towards the pond with practiced speed and purpose. Ben roared in response, unhinged and relentless. "I'll fucking kill you. I'll rip your head off with my bare hands," he screamed, his voice cracking under the weight of his fury. As the chase unfolded, others in the park sprang into action. Freed from immediate danger, a few rushed to the injured victim and began administering first aid, stemming the bleeding where the blade had struck. Zeus darted between trees and lampposts, adrenaline coursing through him. His mind was focused, calculating. He wasn't just leading Ben away, he was maneuvering him into a trap. The pond shimmered under the pale light of the moon, a calm surface belying the chaos about to erupt beside it. Reaching the water's edge, Zeus skidded to a halt and turned to face the oncoming storm. His stance widened, breath steady, muscles braced. He waited. Ben came at him like a freight train, eyes wild, fists clenched, screaming mindlessly, but Zeus was ready. At the last second, Zeus leapt into a forward flip, launching himself above the berserker's head. As he passed overhead, he drove both boots into Ben's back with a controlled, crushing kick. The impact was thunderous. Ben flew forward, momentum carrying him straight into the pond with a great splash, limbs flailing as the water swallowed him whole. The once serene surface erupted into chaos, ripples spreading outward in jagged waves. As Ben plunged headfirst into the pond, a flurry of wings erupted around him. The geese that had been gliding serenely across the surface now panicked, honking and flapping in a frantic bid to escape the chaos. Water churned beneath their retreat, ripples spiraling outward as Ben's body crashed through the tranquil surface. Now knee-deep and sodden, Ben struggled to find his footing. Each step back towards the bank was laboured, the resistance of the water slowing him, draining the momentum from his fury. Still, he trudged forward, eyes fixed on Zeus, teeth bared in savage defiance. But Zeus would not let him reach the shore. "I gave you a chance to surrender reading," he said, his voice level yet laced with restrained fury. Adjusting the voltage setting on his weapon to its lowest, he made a calculated and merciful decision. A final gesture of humanity towards a man who had shown none. He raised his weapon and took aim, not at Ben directly, but at the water surrounding him. You murdered a doctor who only wanted to help you. You butchered his wife. And worst of all, you ended the life of a toddler. She had her whole future ahead of her, and you stole that from her without hesitation. His voice caught slightly, not with weakness, but with the sheer weight of the injustice he was forced to confront. Ben, soaked to the bone, sneered as he slogged forward. There was no remorse in his eyes. When I swear revenge, he spat, I make sure everyone connected to my target suffers. That way, no one ever crosses me again. The words landed like poison. Zeus felt the last flicker of restraint burn away. There was no redemption in this man, no trace of the humanity that Dr. Dawes had once tried to salvage. Only a hollow shell filled with vengeance and rot. Without another word, Zeus squeezed the trigger. A crackling pulse shot into the water, its energy amplified by the pond's conductivity. Ben's body arched violently, muscles seizing as if bound by invisible chains. His scream was strangled by the shock, limbs jerking uncontrollably before collapsing beneath the surface with a heavy splash. The water stilled. Zeus lowered his weapon, his breath steady despite the gravity of what had just transpired. He watched as Ben floated, paralyzed but alive, subdued at last. There was no triumph in his stance, only resolve. The burden of justice was a heavy one, but he bore it willingly. Around him, the park exhaled. From behind the safety cordon, bystanders erupted into cautious applause, their cheers tempered by the solemnity of what had occurred. Some clapped, others simply stood, nodding in quiet respect. The once terrified crowd had witnessed not just a battle, but a stand for order, for compassion, for hope. Zeus made his way to the group clustered around the stab victim, now stabilized with makeshift bandages and strips of gauze applied by quick-thinking bystanders. The injured youth drifted in and out of consciousness, his breathing shallow but steady. As Zeus knelt beside him, the boy's lips parted in a whisper, a barely audible but unmistakable "thank you." Zeus gave a solemn nod, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder before rising to his feet. Around him, the crowd swelled with emotion, relief, admiration, awe. A chorus of voices began to rise, praising him as a hero. Some reached out, others filmed, capturing the moment as though a legend had stepped into reality. He met their gratitude with a modest inclination of his head. This wasn't about recognition, it was about responsibility. The city had suffered too long under the grip of fear. The people of London should no longer live in fear of criminals while I am here, Zeus said, his voice steady and resolute, carrying across the hushed park like a vow, etched into stone. I swear to protect this city and its people, and if the Black Death dares to strike London again, I will stop them too. His words rang out not just as a promise, but as a rallying cry. For those who had witnessed tonight's ordeal, it was a balm against despair, a sign that someone was willing to stand and fight when others looked away. In Zeus's armor and presence, they saw more than a man. They saw a shield. Then came Apollo's voice through the helmet, calm and pragmatic. Sir, police response is imminent. It's time to move. Zeus gave one final glance towards the victim, now in safe hands, then turned sharply and sprinted across the damp grass towards the park's entrance, where the sleek form of the Centaur 32X awaited. His pace was swift, purposeful. Mounting the superbike with ease, he activated the ignition. The engine roared to life, echoing through the trees like thunder on the horizon. In a blur of motion and speed, Zeus shot down the path, leaving behind cheers, flashing lights, and a lingering sense of hope. He retraced his covert route towards Turnham Green, the entrance to the disused underground tunnels, opening, like a mouth, into the city's forgotten veins. As he rode through the darkness, a sense of exhilaration surged through him, not just from adrenaline, but from fulfillment. Tonight he had prevented tragedy. He had saved lives. And for that, the storm in his heart had quieted, if only briefly. "I hope that kid makes it," Zeus murmured, his voice low, almost to himself. "He sustained a deep stab wound, but no vital organs were hit," Apollo replied. "According to hospital scanner feeds, he is expected to recover. His condition will likely be reported in tomorrow's news. We can track it from there." A quiet relief washed over Zeus. For all the violence and uncertainty, this one life had been spared. It was enough, for now. He pressed forward into the shadows of the tunnel, headlights slicing through the gloom. The city above was unaware of the war still brewing beneath its feet, but Zeus knew. There were more battles ahead, more monsters in the dark. And as long as evil stalked the streets of London, he would be there to confront it, unyielding, unseen, unstoppable.